June the 20th, 12:18 a.m. Documentation purposes, retention / diary, all of that. I finished reading the little short portion of this book, The Origins of an Islamic State Today, and this is the chapter about Wadi-Al-Qura, and this is after Fadak had got conquered, as far as the chapter is concerned. But what he was talking about, it was like, okay, when Muhammad had left Kabar, that's when he went to Wadi-Al-Qura. Now, it took me a minute to find out exactly where this is at. Like, this is basically like along a valley, but you know, it's a part of the route going north, heading towards Syria. But only a part of the route. But you know, the map that I came across today, hopefully it's a legitimate map. It's basically between Medina and what was it? Kabar. Even though I've seen like little discrepancies as far as the map, because the first map that I looked at when I was looking at these different oases, you got Medina, you got Taim, you got Fadak, and then you got Kabar. But at this other map that I seen today, I think they was trying to say like Taim, that Kabar is south of Taim. I don't know. I'll find the exact truth about that later. But anyway, that's where Muhammad had went after he left Kabar. So when he went there, the people, you know, they basically resisted him. So he ended up invading the place. You know, as far as the language they used, they said the people were hostile. So when he invaded the place, he defeated them, and then he took all of their goods. And then, you know, he basically, once everything was settled, he basically put them under the same rule or stipulation that he had the people of Fadak and Kabar under. Now, I still got a question as far as like, okay, did Fadak get conquered later on based on the positioning of these different oases? You know what I mean? Even though like Wadi-Al-Qura is after the chapter concerning Fadak. Like I said, I get more clarity about that later on, but you know, he defeated the people there, and it was basically inhabited by Jews for the most part. And he left the place. Well, he left a few Jews in charge of the place, but he did put a guy as governor ahead of those people. It was a guy named, I think, Amar ibn Abu. That was his name. But it was like a little confusion as far as like the way that it was written, because they mentioned how he was put as governor of the people, and then they said like after the conquest, that's when another guy named Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan was placed as the governor of those people. But they did mention the fact like after they conquered Wadi-Al-Qura, Taim was the next spot that they had conquered. And those people didn't really put up no resistance either. So as far as like the two names that I mentioned, as far as Amar ibn Abu and Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan, I'm thinking like, okay, Ziyad ibn Abi Sufyan, maybe he was placed as like the head or the governor of the people of Taim, if not of Wadi-Al-Qura. Because like I say, they said like, he put that guy, Amar ibn Abu, as the head of those people, and then after the conquest, they mentioned how the latter, which is the second guy, Ziyad, was placed as governor. So, you know, the literature was kind of unclear. I'm like, okay, I get that part, but, you know, either way, like I say, I'll get more clarification about that later on. But then they also, as far as like when I put that guy's name a part of my jargon, you know, he became governor of Damascus in Syria later on in 634 also, after they had a little bout with the Romans there, the Eastern Romans. So shit, pretty much, that's all they pretty much said about that. And then they go on to the next chapter, which I'm going to read tomorrow. So that's kind of like the order of it. You got Al-Kandak, you got the Battle of Kabar, then you got Fadak, then you got Wadi-Al-Qura. Short and brief. That's all the essentials. Like I say, this is for practice purposes. Make sure I don't forget a lot of this shit. And then, you know, go through all of it when I'm done with this book and make sure everything is in exact chronological order, because like I say, when I be reading jargon or the jargon, I come across additional information that's not included in his book, which is kind of crazy because I kind of question some of it because, like I say, a lot of the authors in this compilation, this is like during the 8th century. So everybody else pretty much came later, which makes me question the validity of their stories. But again, once I get done with this, once I get done reading everything that I feel like is relevant to my overall picture, I have full clarity about it. But that's basically everything they said about Wadi-Al-Qura. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. They did mention a guy named Hamza, but they was talking about like how he was given valleys, and then he gave Sadaka from that. But, it was another tribe, but they were like a nomadic tribe that came from Iraq. So I really didn't think they had too much relevance as far as Wadi-Al-Qura is concerned. But this tribe was called Banu Uthra. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't really specify if those people were also along this little valley region, Wadi-Al-Qura. But that was like the last portion of that chapter concerning that fucking area in northern Arabia. So that's it, basically, real short and brief. Like I said, and also they did mention how Umar might have kicked those people off of the land, and I think like he probably did by the time he became the caliph. If he kicked the Jews out in Kabar, Medina, Fadak, Tang, then yeah, more than likely in Wadi-Al-Qura he did the same thing. If all these people was like continually heading north. So, like I say, when I get to that portion, I'll be able to get clarity about that too, because like everything I read about Fadak and Kabar, they'll mention a little, they have the little authors and they'll be talking about Umar, but you're going to skip that because it's not that relevant, because they're talking about him as far as when he became caliph, which is much later in the story. So by the time I get up to him, chronologically speaking, then I go back and read those authors and what they have to say as far as their anecdotes concerning him. But yeah, I'm going in strict fucking order. So yeah, like I say, June 20th, 12:25 a.m. Good thing I wrote this shit down. I made it real brief in my note section. Wasn't trying to be extravagant, just trying to get the essentials. You know what I'm saying? Make sure I document my studies. Ain't nobody helping me with none of this shit or none of that. But yeah. Yep, that's it. Take my ass to bed because I ain't getting no fucking sleep yesterday.